Okay, welcome to class. My name is Lisa Mars. So to get started, we're going to grab our props. Today we're using 2 blocks, a strap, and a blanket. I always recommend props regardless of the, what's the word? Level. All right, got it.
Yeah, and then just take a second. You literally, you see what I'm saying? Like, it's easier. You just pick it up right for the next step.
Good, all right. So I always recommend props to people regardless of the level that you're at, because they always make everything a little bit more accessible and they're humbling too. So we're going to take the 2 blocks and we're placing them at the back of our mat because we're going to lay down on them. The first block we're taking on the medium height, and you're going to place it about maybe 1.5 feet away from the end. And then we're taking the second block on the higher height. It's like about 6 to 8 inches away from each other. You'll base it on your body. Everyone's a little bit different. But basically the idea is that the first edge of the first block lies right underneath your scapula, right underneath your shoulder blades. So if you slowly line up your back, you find that sweet spot where the first edge hits the bottom part of your shoulder blades. And then as you roll back, the scapula come flat onto the block so that they're supported, and then the head rests gently on the back. And then from here we'll take our legs straight. Depending on your preference, you can keep them relatively straight in front of you, or you can take them a little wider. Kind of feels nice to let them go wider, let the feet fall apart, let the knees roll away, and let your hips sink. From here we're going to take our arms out wide to a T with the palms up, and then gently just bend the elbows so that you start to come into this nice wide chest opener. And the hips just sit neutral, the belly does the same. You'll feel an expansion in the chest and in the front part of your torso. And from here is where we start to find our breath. So you allow the head to get really heavy here. That allows the neck to get super soft, which is what we're aiming for. And then you picture your shoulder blades and your shoulders just taking form of this block. So allow them to soften a little bit, especially in the front, and then see if they can soften and sink back just a little bit more. And then from here, just close your eyes and take a few breaths. It's always good to recenter yourself and recalibrate from whatever you're doing before class so that you can steady the mind and we can focus better during our practice. Here we're going to leave the body exactly where it is. Everything pretty soft and sinking down. And we'll take a small breathing exercise here. So we'll empty out the belly, push it all out. And then you're going to inhale through the nose, fill up the entire chest and belly and feel the lift, feel the expansion, hold it. And then we open the mouth, release it out, let the body sink, everything fall back. Push it all out again, and then on your next inhalation, fill up really big, and when you get to the top of your breath, hold it. Let the elbows soften, the shoulders soften, the face, and then open the mouth, release, push it out, let the body sink. One more time, just like that. Inhale, hold, and open the mouth, release. Good. From here, we just bring a little bit of movement back into the fingers and toes. And gently roll your wrists and ankles, getting any cracks or any pops out that just feel good. Flex and point. And then we'll inhale, reach the arms up overhead. You can bring the feet together, interlace the hands if that feels good for you, and just take a stretch if you're just waking up. Good, and then an exhale to bring the arms back down by your side, this time palms face down. We're going to slide the knees up so the soles of the feet come onto the mat. And to get off the blocks really mindfully and easily, you roll your body to the right and just fall off of them as if they're not even there. And just lay on your side for a moment as your right hand is underneath your head and your left hand is in front of you. lay here just for a moment in the fetal position to kind of curl up, and it just feels really good. So again, with the blocks behind you, you can kind of just reach back and push them out of the way, and then we're going to roll on to our backs. For those of us with tight lower backs, it's definitely wise to keep the knees up. If it's not a problem for you, of course, you can bring the legs straight. I'm going to keep the knees up just because it just feels better. Give your hips a second. So now that we're flattening out, we can give our spine a second to just, again, recalibrate, recenter, and then go back to a neutral position. And there's no rush here. Slight tuck of the chin, and then just creep the scapula again towards your tailbones a bit. Try to lengthen out in the neck a bit. Slowly from here, we're going to bring the knees in towards the chest, and you can grab either the back of your thighs or the front of your shins, whatever feels better for you. And the legs can stay, about hip width apart, and just gently pull the knees in towards the chest. Again, there's a slight tuck of the chin here. Basically just want to feel the entire torso lengthening out, getting nice and long. And if you find that your tailbone does roll up, see if you can bring it down. Try to get the sit bones as close as you can to the floor, and then it's from here that you pull the knees in. So you get into the hips a little bit here. Okay. Then we're going to straighten the right leg all the way to the floor, and gently hug the left knee in. Again, grabbing either the front or the back. This time we'll bring it in a little closer, again trying to lengthen out the lower back. Okay. And then we'll bring the knee right above the hip. We'll take the right hand to the outside of the left leg, and the left arm comes out to a T, palm face down. From here, take a nice big inhale. And on the exhale, you twist over, twist. I'm not gonna lie, a bug just flew up my nose.
Perfect timing.
Oh my god. Okay. Sorry.
Hopefully we got that.
I wonder if that's on camera. Because I swear I took a breath in and I saw it go. Alright, so we'll bring the right hand to the outside of the left leg. The left arm down, palm faces down. Big inhale. And then exhale, we twist over to the right. Trying to keep that left shoulder down. Right, so if it does roll up a little bit, see if you can encourage it back down. And then from here is where you take that right hand that's on the leg and gently guide the leg down. There's a hollowing out here of the belly. See if you can bring the navel in towards your spine, and then it can allow you to roll back a little bit. You can gently look to the left if that feels good. Bring the right shoulder down away from your ear. Can you get a little bit neck stretch going? And then we inhale first, and exhale, you roll back up towards center. And we'll straighten out the left leg first. And then we'll bring the right leg in for the second side. So let's just hug the right knee in first. Feeling now this side versus the other side. Sometimes they do feel different. So left hand to the outside of the right leg. Right arm reaches out to a T, palm faces down. Inhale here. And then exhale again gently. Drop the leg over to the left. Keeping the right shoulder down, so the right leg probably won't go all the way to the floor. It's better to be mindful about the shoulder than try to get a twist. And then you just breathe here. Sometimes it's harder to twist, to breathe in a twist because of where we're constricted. You do your best. Just being aware of where it is. And then inhale first. And exhale, we roll back up towards center. And then we'll bring the left leg up just to meet the right one more time. Squeeze it in, make it feel good. Okay. And now from here, you can just drop your legs over to the right, you can release them. And we're gonna come to sit up, so pushing to the left hand. Okay. From here, we'll find a nice comfortable seated position. For those of us with tight hips, or even in the knees, always best to sit on something. I even find it comfortable regardless. So you can sit on a blanket, you can sit on a block, you can sit on 2 blocks. It doesn't really matter as long as the hips are a little bit lower, as long as the knees are a little bit lower than the hips. And so from here, we'll just bring our hands to heart center just for a moment. Bow your head. Take a moment in silence just to send out a little intention or a little gratitude towards something higher than yourself. Good, and with that, we'll inhale, lift the head, reach the arms up. And on the exhale, you can walk your hands out in front, keeping a nice sturdy back, not too stiff, but sturdy. And just walk the hands, shoulders come down. We're gonna look down towards the hands, or wherever the sternum is facing is where we're looking. And you wanna push into the hands to get the hips back, and then see if you can get a little bit more length there. You just take it to wherever it feels good. Tucking the chin just a little bit too to get a nice long back of the neck. And then you inhale first, and exhale, we'll walk the hands back in. Good. So we'll grab one of our blocks here, and we're gonna place it at first to the right. And it's about 6 to 8 inches. You can test drive by putting the elbow and forearm down and noticing if the hip rolls up, then you're too far. And if you're too close, the shoulder will come into your ear. So you'll find that happy medium place where you can lean and keep the opposite hip grounded. Right, so we've got our right arm down, left hip grounded. Let's inhale, reach the right arm up and away. And on the exhale, we reach it up and over. So we get a nice side stretch here. So the arm will indicate where the stretch goes. And then you can look down, if that feels better on your neck, or you can look underneath the left armpit. And you just breathe, encouraging the hip down, encouraging the ribs up. And with every breath, you can feel the expansion in the ribs to create more space. And then inhale and exhale here. And then you push off that left arm, right arm. Inhale, both arms up. And exhale, arms down. So I was just saying, I teach opposite. Is that okay? Should I be doing the, like I used my left, but with you guys, it's your right?
Yeah, I think that's actually.
Is that better?
Yeah. Whatever you were just doing, it made sense to me. So.
Sorry. Okay. So then we'll bring the block over to the left now. And we'll line it up the same way. So you can take a second, find a good place for it, right? No rush. It's better that we line it up so that it's a better and more thorough stretch. So you bring the left elbow and forearm down first, palm faces forward, and then we root now the right hip down. And you can already start to feel a stretch going on the right side of the ribs. So from here, we'll inhale, reach the right arm up, and on the exhale, reach all the way up and over. So you find where it just feels good for you, and you'll feel it. You can take the arm wherever it is, and now encourage those shoulders down. You kind of broaden through the collarbones, and then you can look down, or you can look under the armpits, whatever feels better on your neck. And then you just breathe here. Really reach through the fingers, spread the fingers, active hands, active arms. Good, and now on your next inhale, you're gonna push off the left arm, inhale both arms up, and exhale arms down. Nice. So we'll remove the block, and we'll come off the blanket. And from here, we're gonna come onto all fours. So for those of us too with bony knees, you can always open up the blanket a little bit more to have a little bit of cushion. What's the word? Yeah. So we come to the front of the mat here, at the top of the mat where we'll have space behind us. From here, we're gonna bring our feet hip width apart, which again, if you'd like to measure, to this. From here, we spread the toes completely. Oh my God.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I'm getting the shot.
From here, we spread the toes completely. It's gonna create a lot of balance. You can think of it as roots of a tree, grounding you down. Spread through the toes. It also starts to stretch out the bottom of the feet, which feels really good. Ground through the heels. And then we pull up at the kneecap to get a nice, strong, sturdy leg here. So you kind of activate the quads here. Sometimes the pelvis likes to tilt forward, so we just gently bring it back so that you bring those two hip bones in the front close together. So there's a little activation of the belly here. Arms down by your side, palms face forward. And then we widen through the collarbones, through the shoulders so that the scapula roll down the back. Again, that outward rotation of the arms. So this is our Tadasana, our mountain pose, our strong, sturdy, standing pose. And from here, inhale, reach the arms up. You can look up. And on the exhale, we're going to bend forward, bend the knees, swan dive down. Hands come to the feet or maybe the shins or calves. Inhale, offer your chest. Exhale, release. And then inhale, we stand up, look up, reach all the way up. And exhale, hands to heart center. And one more time, just like that. Inhale, reach the arms up, strong legs here. Exhale, bend the knees, swan dive forward. Crown of the head faces the floor. Inhale, offer the chest. And exhale to release. And then inhale, stand up, look up, reach the arms all the way up. And then exhale, hands to heart center. Nice. So we'll bring our hands onto the waist. We're going to take a step back with the right foot about 3 feet. And you can look down. Make sure that for at first, your left heel and your right heel are in their own planes. So they're not kind of in one lane, they're in two. So you got the left leg and the right leg's just out to the right, just a bit. Right foot goes flat, turn it out 45 degrees. So now there's a tendency here for the right hip to go back. The hardest part of this pose is getting the right hip forward. Right, so you can already feel there's a little bit of a closing here in the hips. Also be careful not to sit too much into the hip. It's a nice neutral position because once we fall out of the hip, it gets really messy down there with all those joints. So from here, with the right hip forward, we're reaching back through the right heel. Let's bring our hands to heart center. Big inhale, lift the chest a bit. And on the exhale, we bend the left leg forward for warrior one. Good. So the left foot is going to want to roll out. Focus on grounding the big toe of your left foot down. And then you can look down, make sure that the knee and the ankle are in one line, that nothing's rolling out to the side, stabilizing the hips. Again, getting the right hip forward, left hip back, warrior one. Belly in towards the spine, you don't want to let anything hang forward. Pulling everything in, chest in, shoulders back and down. Good. And then you just breathe here. Taking in all of the benefits of this pose by continuously doing body scans, right? Checking in with areas of your body to make sure nothing's cut off, nothing's tense, everything's pretty happy, most things are working. Good. And then inhale, reach your arms up, look up, and on the exhale, we're gonna bring our arms to this sort of cactus formation where we're 90 degrees at the arm and the shoulder and the elbow are in one line as much as you can, right? Nothing too crazy. So we're using this to open up the chest and open up our shoulders. So you can just be mindful with it and be careful again not to let the belly hang forward, bringing everything in. Bending the left leg and reaching the elbows back. Good. And then from here we drop the hands and then inhale, reach them up. And on the exhale, hands come to hip, heel comes up of the right foot, bend the leg, and then you just push up to come back up to standing. Good, so for the left side, same thing. We take the left leg back about 3 feet. Again, separate planes. For our first warrior one, we'll keep them on separate tracks. So left foot, again, 45 degrees, right leg is straight and forward right now. So we can bring the hands to the hips if they're not there, and get the left hip forward now. Right? Trying to get the right hip back, pulling everything in, reaching as much as we can through the back left heel, spread those toes. And then from here, we'll bring our hands to heart center again, inhale. And on the exhale, just bend the right leg forward, so warrior one. And you can keep the arms here. If it still doesn't feel good on the shoulders, you can always bring them down. Or for those of us who want a little bit more, you can always bring them up. So you find what feels good for you with your shoulders, your chest, anything that you got going on, right? Just being mindful. And then there's a slight lift of the sternum here. And wherever the sternum goes is where you look. Good. So if your arms are not up, we're gonna inhale, reach them up. And on the exhale, we're doing the same thing. Take those cactus arms, encouraging the big toe of the right foot down, right knee in line with the feet. Good, and then inhale, bring the elbows back, chest up a little bit more. And then exhale, hands come down. Left heel comes up, a little bend in the leg, and then we just push up to meet the left. Good. So again, we're going to take the right leg. This time we're going to take a big step, about 4 feet, over to the right, and we're going to face the right. From here, arms come out to a T, palms face down, and then again, just gently try to soften your traps so that your shoulder blades go down your back, but we're not forcing anything, right? It's more of a softening, a widening through the collarbones. Left toes face forward, and your right toe continues to face the right. From here, we take a nice big inhale, and on the exhale, we just bend that left leg forward, now to warrior two. Good, so it's good to get right into this pose with a sturdy foundation, right? So both heels are pressing down, spreading through the toes, reaching down through the balls of your feet, right? That's where the balance is going to come from. The sturdiness comes from the legs. There's an upward energy here, right? Lifting everything up instead of trying to go down, we're lifting up. Leaning forward to activate the left quad. Right quad is still pretty active too. Good, and you just breathe here again. And again, if the arms don't feel good here, you can always bring them down. A nice little variation is to maybe clasp them behind your back. Good. So from here, we're going to inhale and exhale, sit a little deeper. Right hand comes down. Left palm comes up, and you're going to inhale, straighten the front left leg, and just lift the left arm up towards the ceiling. And exhale. And then inhale, maybe reach back a bit. And exhale, we're coming back to warrior two. Good, this time we're going to bring our left elbow to the top of our left thigh for side angle bend. And at first, get your hips steady, and then you can inhale, reach the right arm up. And there's a pretty big stretch here going on the right side. Again, not careful not to fall into the left hip. We're not leaning on this left leg. Right? Get the hips a bit more forward, bend the leg, and you just breathe. Again, this is pretty intense, I know. But just hold. And then inhale, exhale, and straighten the leg, and bring the arms back out to a T. Good. So from here, we bring our hands down. We're going to bend that left leg. And then, we're going to bend the right leg, and again, you can just slowly push off, come to the front. Let me try that again. Right? It's a little awkward. How do I do that?
You can have a little spider walk thing.
Right? Yeah, that's what I do, but I feel like that's awkward for beginners.
Or like one of these.
Oh, you're right, heel toe, good one. All right, good, so then we come back to warrior two, inhale. And then exhale, you can heel toe that right leg in. Cool. So we come forward. Thanks.
So I was thinking of like I do that with like.
No, that's a good one. Thank you for that. I kind of felt like you. Heel toe it in. So you get comfortable. And then we step forward, come to the front of the mat. So you want to do the second side, right? Okay. So from here again, we find our Tadasana, where the feet are hip width apart, pulling up at the knee caps, hips are stabilized, belly in, chest proud, smiling again through the collarbones, shoulders down, palms face forward. Inhale, reach the arms up, and exhale, bend the knees, swan dive forward. Nice little release here. Hands to either calves, thighs, or ankles. Inhale, lift the chest, and exhale to forward fold, and then inhale to stand up and look up. Reach your arms all the way up. And exhale, hands to heart center. Good, so we'll bring our hands to the waist for the second side. We'll take a step back with the left leg, about 4 feet again, pretty wide. And then we turn to face the left. So we have our feet facing forward at first, arms come out to a T, if that feels good for you. Otherwise, they can always come down or behind the back. We take the right toes forward this time, kind of setting up like a triangle. Again, shoulders back and down, kind of soften them out. Look forward over the right hand, inhale here. And on the exhale, you just gently bend that right leg forward and coming into your warrior two. You can always kind of modify once you get there. If you find this is too wide, you just shorten it a bit. Shortening it will make it more accessible. just find what feels good for you, because we are going to sit here for a few breaths. Warrior poses challenge us because they provide us with balance yet a lot of strength. So there's a lot of things going on in this pose with not a lot of movement, right? There's power in our stillness. It's a good little concept to wrap your head around sometimes. Good. And then from here, we're going to bring our left hand down, right palm up, and then straighten the right leg. Inhale, reach the right arm up. And exhale here. And then exhale, maybe reach back a little bit. And exhale, we're coming back to Warrior Two. Good. So for side angle bend, we take the right elbow to the right thigh. And make sure those hips stay nice and stable. And then inhale, reach the left arm up. And exhale here. Nice. So you can take the left arm wherever it feels good for you. You can bring it all the way up and over. You can leave it up. Same thing goes for the neck. You can look down or you can look up. You find what works for your neck right now. And then you just breathe. Trying to get the right hips forward so that we're not just sitting into our right thigh. Right? There's a lot of movement here. Pushing down the right big toe. Good, and then inhale, we're going to come all the way back up, Warrior Two, and then let's straighten the leg, release, and then we'll put a little bend in that left leg, kind of heel to it again, back up, and then we come to stand at the front. That's a warrior sequence.
Fingers.
Cool.
Warrior. What else?
Then there's, I was going to do like a lunge sequence, where we're on the ground, and you can do there's so many things to do from this position. I like to bring for beginners, it's hands here with the chest forward, hip flexor. And then with the blocks, you do runner's lunge, which is from here where you bring it back. This one. Yeah. And then you bring the leg in, you can do twists. You can do 1,000 things from here. So it's gonna do a little sequence on the knees.
Yeah.
Cool?
That's it,
Okay.
what you said. That was awesome.
All right.
Because a lot of the people that are watching, at least from my clients, I'm sure their company will probably do the same. Tight hamstrings, tight lower back, all, ties up.
Oh yeah. So I'll get us there from standing, just in case we need that transition.
Yeah, you can do it from anywhere.
Cool. So we'll bring the feet again hip width apart, set up nice in our Tadasana like we did past couple times. Inhale, reach the arms up, and exhale to bend the knees, swan dive forward. This time bend the knees so much that the hands come down. Inhale to lift the chest. And on the exhale, we're going to step the right leg back. Good. So you want it pretty wide. You can kind of, again, heel toe that leg back. And then drop your right knee and drop the top of your right foot. So what's most important here is that your left ankle and your left knee are in one line. Sometimes there's a tendency to roll over it. This is problematic. And then there's also not that great if you have a wider angle. So you want to find that good alignment here with the knee and the ankle in the same line. From here, we're going to bring at first our hands onto the knees. Inhale and exhale. And then let's bring our hand up to the thigh so we get a little bit of height. Inhale and exhale here. And from here, we're just leaning into the front right hip flexor. It's a really tight area for most people. So you just take it to where it feels good. You don't want to ever go past your comfort zone, but you can teeter on the edge, and that's where you'll find a little bit of growth. So you find your edge, whatever feels good, and then see if you can soften it, right? So the point of kind of holding these poses is that so over time we can start to open them, but so that we just soften them. We're not trying to tug and war anything open. A stretch isn't so much a pull, it's more of a release. So you just kind of release your hip flexor here. And again, being aware of the breath, any sensations coming up, sometimes the heart rate can get faster here. Again, even though we're not moving that much. Good, so we're gonna bring our right hand down to a block. And any setting works. You can even use the floor, just like the block, it just gives me more height. And I like the flat setting. Of course, any setting that works for you works. Bring the right hand down. And at first, you just work at getting your left shoulder back. So you can bring your hand right onto your hip. or you can keep it on the knee at first, whatever helps you get the left shoulder back and the chest to face the left leg as much as you can. Be aware of the right wrist, you don't want to fall too much into it. There's a little pull up out of the right arm. Good, so just take a gentle twist here, and then inhale, reach the left arm up, and exhale. And then inhale again. And exhale, left hand comes back down to the floor. You can get rid of the right block just for a second. So from here, we're going to bring our hips back, and we're going to start to straighten out the front left leg. So the blocks are definitely going to come into good use here. We're going to have both of them on the highest setting. So at first, you want to get your right leg in line. You can always tuck the toes. It's okay for balance, or if it just feels better on your ankle. And then make sure that your knee and your hip are in one line. So we're not trying to roll back. We're actually going to stay forward on the hip. So gently, let's bring the left hip back, right hip forward, so that we kind of balance out the hip bones, right? We're trying to square them off. Bring your hands down onto the blocks or up. From here, we're going to straighten out the left leg. Bring the toes up towards the ceiling. Take a big inhale first. And on the exhale, you just bring your chest forward, right? Leave the head back. Your hips are reaching back. You're actually trying to get a little back bend here. Nothing too crazy, but the stretch will come from the torso reaching forward and the chest dropping down. You're going to feel this tremendous stretch in the back of your left leg. It could even go from your ankle all the way up through the glutes and up to the lower back. But you won't get that stretch if you're round here. So there's no point in rounding and falling forward. The stretch is going to come from reaching the hips back, the chest forward, and then just looking wherever your sternum faces, right? So there's no cringing of the neck here. Nice open back. And this is pretty intense. It's definitely a heat building pose. So you just breathe through it. Noticing what comes up. Not trying to control anything except for maybe a slow breath. But just trying to soften again so that it can open. Good. So we're going to walk the blocks forward for a second as you roll forward onto your front left leg. And then we're going to take the left leg back just a bit so that we can come off the blocks and that we're square now. Good. So we're going to take the left hand to the left hip. Inhale, reach your right arm up. The palm faces to the right. And on the exhale, we're going to take a twist, bringing the back of your right hand to your left leg. Good. So then from here, you take a nice big inhale. And on the exhale, you just take your sternum to wherever it faces, right? And if it's not enough for you, you can always bring the elbow to the knee. It's kind of nice to stay up here because it's easier to breathe. So sometimes when we come down, there's a tendency for everything to get small here. You can pull up, out, make sure there's space between your chest and your leg. It's kind of just nice to stay up. Good. And then we look forward first. Inhale. Exhale, hands down to release. And from here, we're going to bring the left leg back. And in our tabletop, you can remove the blocks if they're in your way. You can inhale here. And exhale, we're just going to sit back and to child's pose just for a moment. If child's pose feels good for you. You can always come onto the elbows. Try and get your head down. You can always bring it to a block. And arms can come back by your side, palms face up. This allows your shoulders to roll forward. It just feels nice. So wherever your rest pose is, take a rest here. Right, come back to the breath, come back to your heart rate, come back to any sensations going on, and just let everything settle for a second. Breathing, releasing, letting everything come back to kind of a point A, point zero, recalibrating. Slowly, we're going to come back up onto all fours on an inhale. And on the exhale, let's bring the right leg forward now. Good, so we'll set up for the second side. We'll get our blocks. But at first, we're gonna bring the hands onto the knees. And then we'll bring our hands onto the thigh. And in order to lean here, you might have to scoot the left leg back a bit. Because again, if you're having the right knee over the ankle, you've gone too far. So you just find whatever placement is good for your hips. And feet are flat on this one. Yes, feet are flat. Good, so we have our hands on our thighs, trying to get the left hip forward, right hip back just a bit. And then again, falling gently into that left hip flexor. You can even start to feel it throughout your psoas and deep into the ab tissues, through the hip flexor, into your quad. Right, it's a pretty big front body stretch here. And just try to breathe through it, right? You can send your breath. Try to imagine it going to the places that kind of need it the most. Good, so we'll take the block underneath the left hand like we did on the opposite side. And at first we'll bring our right hand to the right hip. And then just inhale, take a gentle twist to the right. And exhale, maybe look by that right arm, or you can always look down, but be careful not to fall into that left shoulder. Gently pull up out of it. Good. The right leg's gonna wanna sprawl over to the right. Just gently keep it in. Good, and then inhale, reach the right arm up. And exhale, we'll bring it back down. So you can bring your hands now onto both blocks. And we're gonna walk the blocks back and start to straighten the front right leg now for the runner's lunge on the second side. So foot can be tucked here. Again, this is a balance thing, so wherever it's better for you. But again, knee and hip are in one line, and that's where they'll remain. So we inhale here, lift the chest forward. And on the exhale, you bring the hips back, kind of create a little back bend, and reach your chest forward. Good, and then the more you spread through the right toes and lift them up towards the ceiling, in combination with the arch in our back, you'll get a huge stretch, right, in the back of your right leg now. And it can go the entirety of the leg, even up through the glute and your lower back. So it's kind of nice to sit here for a moment and let everything sort of settle in, release, maybe open up just a bit. Always a little slight tuck of the belly button in towards the spine, right? You never want to let that kind of hang, even though sometimes it's easy to. Good, and then from here to release, you just come back to a neutral spine, walk the blocks forward, roll back onto the front right foot, and then we'll just scoot it back a bit. So now we're all square here, setting up for that twist. Good. So from here, let's bring the right hand to the waist. Inhale, reach your left arm up, palm faces to the right. And on the exhale, you can bring your back of the right hand to your, left hand to your right leg. Or you can always bring the elbow, but just be mindful of where you're at. You just want a gentle twist here. Try to get the left hip forward just a little bit, right hip back, and more of the belly button to turn towards the right within reason. You can look over the right shoulder if that feels good. Not, you can always look forward. One more inhale here. And then exhale, we'll look forward to release. Hands come down. We'll get the blocks out of the way. From here, we're going to tuck the back left toes. Inhale here. And on the exhale, lift your hips and just scoot back for downward facing dog. Knees bent, hips up. Chest reaching towards the thighs, arms straight, and your head gently reaching towards the earth, right towards your hands. Try to get that long neck. Navel in towards the spine, pulling upward energy, right, Mula Bandha. Good, and then inhale here, and exhale, we'll come onto all fours. Take a rest here. And if child's pose isn't a good rest for you, you can always come on to your belly. You can bring the hands underneath the head, the toes come together and the heels fall apart. Because I understand that child's pose is not for everyone. So your rest pose might be completely different from someone else's. So a good variation is to come onto the belly, kind of just let the hands fall, sorry, your head fall into your hands. So from child's pose, we're going to take the arms out in front of us, and slowly we're going to roll forward, come onto the belly. So we're going to start with a little Sphinx pose, which is a nice gentle back bend. We're going to take the feet flat. The feet are about, again, hip width apart, maybe a little closer, but definitely not wider. And from here, sorry, we're on our bellies. We bring our hands by our side. To inhale, lift the chest up, and then you slide the elbows forward, kind of like a Sphinx. So the elbows, it depends on your back, can be underneath the arms. They can definitely be more forward. This is more gentle. So you can find whatever feels good for you. It doesn't matter as long as the elbows are in line with the shoulders, right? They're not sprawling out or not falling down. As long as they are all in line, it doesn't matter where the elbows are. Good. So take a second just to bring some attention to your glutes and your thighs and notice if they're tense. And if they are, release them. Because there's a tendency here to kind of squeeze everything in, but that can kind of hurt the SI joints, so we're going to stay away from that. So you can allow the heels to go a little wider, and that'll kind of inwardly rotate those legs so that they kind of release a little bit. And from here, you're going to inhale, look forward, and on the exhale, just look to the right. And then inhale, look forward, and exhale, we look to the left. And inhale, look forward, and exhale, tuck your chin. And we're going to stay here for a few breaths. So in the Sphinx pose with our chin tucked, you can feel a really big stretch in your upper back. You want to bring the elbows, there's like an imaginative pull back of the elbows. They're not moving, but there's an engagement here to allow the shoulders to really creep away from the ears. And again, the scapula to go down your back. So there's a little engagement here of the elbows. Again, always trying to spread through your clavicle bones, the chest bones, and then the chin tucked. You can really let it hang while you gently pull the shoulders away. You can feel a good stretch here. And just breathe. Good, and then slowly inhale, lift the head up. And on the exhale, we're going to bring our hands behind us so the palms face up. We'll bring our left cheek to the mat first. Bring the toes together, and then really let the heels go wide so that the kneecaps kind of roll in towards one another. And you can allow your hips and your lower back to really release here. And just take a couple breaths. Good, so from here we're going to bring our chin down. Let's bring the heels up towards the ceiling, kind of like the same position they were just in. And then let's inhale, lift the arms, bring them forward again for a little Sphinx. But this time we're going to take a block, and we're going to place it around. Allow your hips and your lower back to really release here. And just take a couple breaths. Good, so from here we're going to bring our chin down. Let's bring the heels up towards the ceiling, kind of like the same position they were just in. And then let's inhale, lift the arms, bring them forward again for a little Sphinx. But this time we're going to take a block, and we're going to place it around where our head is, just so we can come onto our elbows for a second. And then just take a second here to make sure that your head is good. So you want to get your face on to the block. So let's bring the chest down a little bit. From here, we're going to bring the arms out to a T, palms face down. And we'll start first by bringing the left side of your face onto the block. And the block is just an option. If it doesn't feel good for you, you don't have to use it, of course. So from here, we're going to be very mindful because we're going to roll back onto the left shoulder. It's going to be for our chest and our pecs. From here, we take a nice big inhale. And on the exhale, you creep your right arm in so the elbow comes up, and you gently start to roll onto the left side. Right, so you're gonna start to feel this now in the left arm. And you can creep that left arm away, kind of spider crawl it away, the more you roll, and you just take it to wherever it feels good. So some of us just might not even roll too much. Some of us might be able to roll onto the side. If you'd like a little bit more, you can always take that right leg, the top leg, and you bring the sole of the foot to the mat or to the floor behind you. And usually this is pretty good for most people, if not stopping way before this. So you can just kind of chill here wherever it feels good. Softening the pecs just a little bit, right? Anti-text shoulders. And then inhale. And exhale, slowly, mindfully roll back onto your belly. And gently bring the right side of your face down, the right arm out to a T. And we'll set up for the second side. So left hand comes in, we bend at the elbow, big inhale. And on the exhale, you just slowly push into the left hand, roll the left shoulder back, finding where it feels good for you. So maybe some of us can roll onto the side. Perhaps you can bring that left leg back. When you get there, you can try the right leg to match it. Doesn't matter where the legs go. Whatever your legs are doing is irrelevant because the pose is at the shoulder and the chest. So just make sure it feels good there. Good. So inhale first. And then exhale, slowly we roll back down. You can remove that block. And this time we'll bring the right side of our face down. Arms come back down by your side. Right cheek. And then toes together, heels fall apart. And then let the elbows and the shoulders, everything roll forward. And you can get a nice stretch here in the neck. The more you encourage the right ear down and the right side of the head. Right, just slowly, gently bringing the shoulders away from the face. Good, and then one more nice stretch on the belly. We're gonna inhale, lift the chin to the mat, and then we're gonna bring the heels up once more. So for some of us, a strap might be pretty good here. You can see once you get there. If you don't have a strap, you can always use a towel or a tie or anything that would resemble this, maybe a long sock or something. So it doesn't really matter. If you do have a strap though, we're going to make a loop out of it. And then again, you might not even need it, so we'll see where it goes. Good, so you want to make, if you do have a strap that requires you to do this, or that allows you to do this, you make a small hole because it's where our foot's going. So you can bring the strap by your side as you're on your belly, and from here we're going to come again back into a sphinx. But this time, you can have the block here if you like, but we're going to bring the elbows away so that the chest is a little bit further down. So that if you were to put your left forearm to be parallel with the front of your mat, if you were to drop your head, you'd have a long neck and your forehead would rest on your forearm. So sometimes there's a tendency to bring the arm too close and the shoulders come up. So let's try and bring the chest and the shoulders down by reaching the left arm further away and maybe getting a little bit more flat. Nice. So that's just for your elbows placement. So we'll come back onto the elbows in Sphinx pose just for a moment. Again, the elbows pretty far away. From here, we're going to inhale, reach the right leg up. So your right foot. We bend at the knee. And sometimes this is enough for people. You don't need to do any more. If you're starting to feel this in your quad, then you stay here. If you'd like a little bit more, you can look over the right shoulder. And this is where either the strap or not comes in. So you turn first the left forearm to face to the right so that your forearm is parallel with the front of the mat. And then again, the elbow is pretty far away. Over the right shoulder, you can reach back. If you can grab it, that's great. If not, you take the hook. And you can hook the first. And then we have now the strap here. But regardless of where or what we have, either you're staying there or you have your foot, you take an inhale first. And on the exhale, you drop your forehead down. And then you just gently bring the right heel in towards your glute. And you just want to find a good stretch. Sometimes there's a tendency too for the knees to sprawl out. You want to encourage those legs to stay close and to keep both hips down. Sometimes the hips want to raise here just to compensate for any tightness in the quad. Encourage the hips down and encourage the knees closer. And then really allow the head to fall. Try to get a really soft back of your neck, right? The upper body's pretty chill. We're just getting a nice stretch in the front of our quad. Good. And then to release, all you do is let go of the leg or let go of the strap and let everything fall. You can bring both arms underneath your head just for a second to bring the toes together, heels apart, and just take a rest. Sometimes without us noticing, the lower back can get a little tight there. So it's nice to let it release. And the more that the legs outwardly rotate, the more those hips and glutes and lower back can release. Good. So to set up for second side, we're going to take the same variation. Right, if you have the hook strap, we'll just get that off. This time, let's bring the right arm now parallel with the front of the mat, so the right forearm. And we reach the left foot up. And again, you stay here if this feels good. Or you can look over the left shoulder, maybe grab it. You want to grab the outside, not quite the inside. You want to grab the outside. Good. So that your shoulders can come back forward. And again, get the knees a little closer. Left hip down. Inhale. And then exhale, drop the head down. Encourage the left heel in towards the glute. Try to relax your shoulders and chest and neck and head as much as you can. And just bring a little bit of awareness to the left quad and try to soften it. And then to release, you just let go, let it fall. Your left hand can come meet the right underneath the head, and then take another rest here as your toes come together and your heels fall apart. Your head can rest right in your arms, kind of creating this little cocoon for yourself. It's a nice little pose to turn inward. Encourage some self-reflection here. Good, so from here we're going to bring the heels up. Let's slide the hands out from underneath our head. We're going to line our hands up here for a little cobra. So your thumbs get in line with the nipples. And then the shoulders reach back. Again, you spread through your collarbones here. Right, the chest is pretty low. Tops of the feet are down. Legs are relatively straight. And just inhale here, lift the chest up. And on the exhale, push into your hands. We're going to come back into a child's pose. Really slowly, really mindfully getting there. If this doesn't feel good for you, you can always come onto all fours or take a down dog. But just for a second, in a child's pose, inhale. And exhale exhale through the mouth. And then inhale, come up onto all fours. And exhale, let's tuck the toes, lift the hips and knees, downward facing dog.